So, out of curiosity, with Easter around the corner, I wanted to ask both of you that when you celebrate Easter, how does being an expert on the resurrection affect your spiritual experience on that day in particular?
Want to go, Mike?
Sure. I, I don't know that being an expert on the topic impacts my day more. I do know that I'd like to be speaking in a church on Easter, and if I'm not, I'm kind of discouraged. It's like that's what I need to be doing on Easter of all times of the year. So, um, uh, yeah, but I mean, Easter's been just it's very meaningful to me. The resurrection took on a whole new, how can I say it? Just a different kind of meaning to me several years ago. My mom died in 2013. My dad died in 2014. And I mean, I was especially close to my mom. And it was, it was rough, but it wasn't nearly as rough as it could have been because I had the assurance I'm going to see them again. And so, yeah, I miss them, but it's like I miss them. I didn't hurt for them. I hurt for me because it was a loss. Um, in contrast, 2 years ago, our family, my wife, my two kids, and myself, the kids don't live here now, but we had to put down our family dog. And I mean, Gary knows what Nessie was like and stuff. And it's a little West Highland Terrier. And it's just devastating to us. I mean, my wife has probably seen me cry just a handful of times over our 30 some years of marriage. And she'll tell you that I cried more over the loss of that dog um, than I did with both my parents combined. And it's not that I love the dog more. I certainly didn't. I mean, I held the dog when the vet came up and, everybody in the room is just bawling and I'm crying and I'm holding the dog and the vet puts the medicine in it. And then a minute later, she's gone. And I'm thinking, I was holding this dog that I loved. And just a minute ago, it was alive. And now I may never see her again. I am not promised that I'm going to have that dog in heaven. I'm not promised that that dog is going to live for eternity. And just that thought was just devastating to me. Um, but it's not when our loved ones who we love so much more when they die, um, and knowing Christ, because we're going to see them again. And that takes so much of the pain away. So, like Paul says in 1 Thessalonians 4, we do not grieve as those who have no hope. And so that's what the resurrection, in addition to giving me confidence of having eternal life and knowing God, it comforts me in the death of loved ones. And honestly, I look forward to death. I don't look forward to the process, but you know, I'm looking forward to death.
Gary, did you want to add anything to that from your
Well,
side?
I'm not trying to. I think what Mike said is just the difference between hope and no hope. That's one of my favorite verses in Paul, along with several others, where he says in Philippians 1 that he prefers to die and be with Christ, 123, because being with Christ is better by far. And Mike, you're the man for this, but I understand in the Greek there that it's an emphatic better by far, and occasionally translations will translate it as I prefer to die and be with Christ, which is better, comma, far better, period, to put this extra emphasis on it. And in 1995, probably 10 years, 15 years after my serious doubt ended, my wife got ill, and she was the my best friend, closest person in the universe, mother of our four children. She was only 43 years old, and she was diagnosed with stomach cancer. I didn't know much about stomach cancer in those days, but I found out real quickly that nobody survives. In fact, the oncologist walked in the room right after the surgery. She was right there in the bed, but she was still under the anesthesia and she was out. And the oncologist said, "This is arguably the worst cancer you can have, the worst kind." And I was heartbroken. And 4 months later, my wife died in the summer of 1995. And I had make believe, which I published these, but I had make believe conversations with God. I mean, they were real conversations in my thoughts, but it was make believe that God was answering me. And I was on the front porch of our home, and it was the first week in May, and we just gotten back from the hospital. By the way, she was in the hospital over Easter. That was very significant to me. They sent us home. She was upstairs. I had a baby monitor. The kids were in school. I had a baby monitor on the front porch with me. And every time she as much as turned over, I stopped everything I was doing and ran upstairs to the next floor, and she was just laying there sleeping. She was fine. She was sleeping 18 hours a day. And I had make-believe conversation with the Lord. And my first question was, why does this happen to somebody who's tried to serve you, who with the stay-at-home wife, and you wanted me to teach, and now all of a sudden I wake up with a new job every day. I forgot I've got clothes to wash. I've got breakfast, lunch, dinner. I've got, oh no, there's homework. Oh, there's putting people to bed. And 4 months later, she died. And she was only 43. And back to what Mike said, the verses like Philippians 1:23 and 1 Thessalonians 4 were what buoyed me. And the fact that the resurrection was real told me I have another hope to see her again. And not a hope so or a what if, but a no so, and something that's in reality, because as Paul says, Jesus is the first fruits and others come after. So, I mean, we went straight to the existential deal here, and usually people save that for the end, and that's fine. But maybe it's a good way to start, because that's the difference between being grounded in the resurrection and not being grounded in the resurrection.